In a city of sand and silence, where gods are carved from stone, a child is born. The stars watch. The idols tremble. No one knows it yet, but history has just changed forever. His name is Muhammad. No palace, no riches, no royal blood, just a newborn wrapped in cloth, glowing with something unseen. A mother smiles in peace. A storm of destiny brews quietly in the background. That same night, hundreds of miles away, a strange light streaks across the sky above Medina. Jewish scholars look up, alarmed. Could this be the sign? A long-awaited prophecy has stirred. In the Kaaba, where idols stood for centuries, something impossible happens. The stone and wooden figures fall without a touch. A sacred space reawakens. The unseen begins to move. Long before Muhammad, the Kaaba stood as a house of one God, first built by Adam, lost in the great flood, rebuilt by Abraham and Ismail. A place meant for unity, now surrounded by idols. Mecca, forgot. The city became a shrine for false gods. 360 idols circled the Kaaba. But beneath it all, the stones remembered, waiting for someone to restore their meaning. Muhammad's father died before he was born. His mother passed when he was 6, orphaned, alone, but watched over by something greater than kings or armies. His grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, took him in. A man respected by Mecca, he believed in one God, quietly, without preaching. He saw something in the boy no one else did. As Abdul Muttalib neared death, he turned to his son, Abu Talib. "Take care of the boy," he said. And so began one of the most loyal guardianships in history. Young Muhammad grew up under Abu Talib's care, gentle, honest, and curious. He herded sheep, helped in trade, and earned the nickname Al-Amin, the trustworthy. On a trading journey, Muhammad joined his uncle Abu Talib's caravan. Through the heat of the desert, a strange shadow followed them. Only over him, a Christian monk named Bahira spotted the boy from afar. He had seen signs like this before in sacred texts. He knew this child was different. Bahira hosted the group, watching closely. Then he asked, "Are all present?" Abu Talib replied, "Only a boy watches the camels." Bahira's eyes widened. Bahira met young Muhammad and saw what he feared and hoped, the signs of prophethood. He warned Abu Talib, "Protect him, guard him well." Years passed. Muhammad became known as the man of truth. Traders respected him. People trusted him with their wealth. One woman watched closely, Khadijah. Khadijah was unlike any woman in Arabia. Wealthy, powerful, but known as the pure. She offered Muhammad a business proposal, and soon after, her heart. He was 25. She was 40. Their love wasn't just romance. It was trust, partnership, and quiet strength. She would be his first believer. But Muhammad wasn't like other men. He began retreating to a cave, alone, searching for answers in silence, beneath stars and stone. One night, everything changed. A voice thundered in the dark. "Read." He froze. Again, "Read in the name of your Lord." The first word of the Quran descended. Muhammad rushed home trembling. "Cover me," he told Khadijah. She held him and believed him, the first to say, "You are God's messenger." Days later, the voice returned. "Arise and warn." No longer hidden, the command was clear. Preach the truth. Speak of one God. Begin the revolution. He told Khadijah. He told his cousin Ali, his friend Abu Bakr. Quietly, the faith began, like a spark beneath a mountain of stone. The message was simple, yet dangerous. Worship only one God. Reject idols. Free the slave. Protect the orphan. Give, forgive, and submit to the Almighty. When Muhammad began speaking publicly, Mecca shook. How dare he insult the gods? The elite panicked, not because he lied, but because he told the truth. Abu Lahab, his own uncle, became his enemy. "May your hands perish," he said. Blood turned cold. Rejection came from within his own home. But others believed. The poor, the slaves, the outcasts. They saw what the powerful feared: freedom, a man not ruled by wealth or lineage. The Quraysh turned to threats. They offered wealth, marriage, power. "Just stop preaching," they begged. He said no. Every time, no. Then they tried violence. Bilal, a slave who believed, was tied and beaten under the sun. He only said, "Ahad, Ahad." One God, one God. The prophet saw the pain, but he promised paradise. "Patience," he said, "for with hardship comes ease." They endured, not for him, but for God. One night the prophet pointed to the sky. "Do you see the moon?" he asked. "Watch." And before the disbeliever's eyes, it split. One night the prophet pointed to the sky. "Do you see the moon?" he asked. "Watch." And before the disbeliever's eyes, it split. The Quraysh escalated. A brutal boycott. No trade, no food, no marriage with Muslims. 3 years of starvation. Even the children cried at night. They hung a scroll in the Kaaba, sealing the pact. But something strange happened. Worms ate the document, everything but the name of Allah. The boycott ended, but pain continued. Khadijah died. Abu Talib died. 2 pillars of support, gone. The prophet wept in solitude. It was the year of sorrow. Seeking hope, he traveled to Taif. But they mocked him. Children threw stones. He bled in the streets, heartbroken, rejected. Yet he whispered, "Forgive them." That night, alone beneath the stars, he prayed. Suddenly, he was not alone. The angel Gabriel appeared. "Come," he said, "you are summoned." A white beast, Barak, stood waiting. With the speed of light, they soared through dimensions, from Mecca to Jerusalem, the first step of the night journey. He prayed in Al-Aqsa with the spirits of Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. The final prophet had joined those who came before. Then came the ascension. He rose through the 7 heavens, past the stars, the angels, the veils, higher than any soul had ever reached. He reached Sidrat al-Muntaha, the boundary. Even Gabriel could go no further. Alone now, he stood before the divine. What he saw cannot be fully known. Light upon light, time dissolved, destiny revealed, and from that presence came a gift, the command to pray. He returned to Mecca. "I was taken to the heavens," he told them. They laughed. But others, like Abu Bakr, believed without hesitation. If he said it, it is true. The threats turned deadly. Quraysh leaders planned to kill him in his sleep. The night came. Swords were drawn, but his cousin Ali took his place. Muhammad slipped away under the cover of darkness, guided not by stars, but by divine will. The hunt began, a manhunt across the desert. They hid in a cave on Mount Thor. Quraysh trackers reached the entrance, but a spider had spun a web and a dove nested. No one could be inside, they said, and turned back. Inside the cave, Abu Bakr whispered in fear, "They are so close." The prophet replied, Do not be afraid. God is with us. Days later, they emerged and reached Medina. The people rushed out singing, Tala al-Badru alayna, the moon has risen upon us. Hope had arrived. A new life began. Muslims could finally worship freely. Jews, pagans, and Muslims lived side by side under a shared agreement, the first constitution of Medina. He built the first mosque with his own hands. No thrones, no palaces, just sand, palm trunks, and unity. It was not power, but purpose. The enemies of Islam grew restless. Mecca's leaders plotted again. They couldn't accept his rise. They feared not his sword, but his truth. They gathered an army. Badr was the first battlefield. Outnumbered 3-1, the Muslims prayed. And when the dust cleared, they had won. After Badr, the enemies struck again. At Uhud, Muslims faltered. The Prophet was wounded. But even in pain, he said, "Forgive them. They know not." In every conflict, the Prophet set rules. Don't harm women, children, or the elderly. Don't destroy trees. Don't touch places of worship. This was justice before the world had laws. His enemies used lies and torture. He responded with discipline. This wasn't revenge, it was reform, a war for hearts, not blood. Slowly, tribes across Arabia began to listen, not by force, but by example. The Prophet's patience was planting seeds that would bloom across centuries. After 20 years, the Kaaba still stood, but now crowded with idols. The time had come. Muhammad marched toward Mecca, not with vengeance, but with peace. The Quraysh expected blood, but the Prophet announced, "You are free. No retribution, no conquest, only mercy." He entered the Kaaba alone. One by one, he struck the idols with his staff. "Truth has come," he said, "and falsehood has perished." Idols crashed. Dust rose. History shifted. The house of God was clean again, just as Abraham had built it, just as Adam had dreamed. That day, the hearts of Arabia turned, not to power, not to fear, but to truth. What was once hated was now beloved. From a boy with no father to the unlettered man who shaped nations, Muhammad's journey proved this. Greatness is not inherited. It is earned through patience, purpose, and faith. In the final year of his life, the Prophet stood before over 100,000 followers at Mount Arafat. This was no ordinary speech. It was his final message to humanity. "All humans are equal," he said. "No Arab is better than a non-Arab, no white over black, except by piety." In the 7th century, these words thundered like lightning. "Treat women kindly," he continued. "You are guardians over them." These were not just words. They were shields in a world that had none. He completed his message. "Today, I have perfected your religion." Those closest to him wept. A revelation this complete meant the end was near. Weeks later, he became ill. Fever took hold. His strength faded. Still, he prayed, advised, and smiled. "Don't turn my grave into a place of worship," he warned. His last moments were in Aisha's arms. His final words, "O Allah, the highest companion." And just like that, the world shifted. Medina fell silent. Grown men cried in the streets. But Abu Bakr reminded them, "Whoever worships Muhammad, he is gone. But whoever worships God, he lives." The Prophet was gone, but the message remained. A scroll that grew into a civilization. A desert voice that reached oceans and empires. Today, billions whisper his name in prayer. A man who never wrote a book, never led an army by his own sword, yet changed the map of human purpose. His legacy was never in stone, but in hearts, in justice, in mercy, and in the certainty that one life lived in truth can transform the world forever. After his passing, chaos could have consumed the Muslims, but they stood firm, not for power, but for the message. Abu Bakr led with tears in his eyes and steel in his heart. Omar, the warrior who once planned to kill the Prophet, now wept at his grave. "We didn't realize what we had," he whispered. Islam didn't spread by force. It spread by justice. When Muslims entered Jerusalem, they protected churches. When they ruled Persia, they honored scholars. In Egypt, a Christian wrote, "We feared the Muslims, but they were fairer than our own rulers." That was the echo of Muhammad's example. His companions carried the message to Africa, Persia, India, and beyond, not for gold, but for God. They slept on the ground and spoke with tears. A woman in Arabia once said, "Before Islam, I was nothing. After Islam, I was heard." This wasn't religion. It was liberation. A freed slave named Bilal became the first to call to prayer. His voice echoed from rooftops, proof that status meant nothing before God. Centuries later, a king in West Africa hears that name, Muhammad, and weeps. "I have never met him, but I follow him." In China, in Spain, in the steppes of Central Asia, mosques rise. They don't speak Arabic. They've never seen Mecca, but they love him because he didn't come for one people. He came for all. His message was not bound to tribe or time. It was truth, wrapped in mercy. In today's courts, equal before the law is common. But in 7th century Arabia, Muhammad said, "Even if my own daughter stole, she would be punished." He ended racism 1,400 years ago. No superiority except in righteousness. Today, activists quote him without even knowing it. He called for the education of girls in a world that buried daughters alive. Today, millions of Muslim women lead in science, law, and literature. Environmentalists today preach what he taught then. Do not waste water, even if you're by a river. His mercy extended to animals, trees, even ants. In refugee camps, in prisons, in hospital beds, you'll hear his name, not as a slogan, but as a hope, a whisper of meaning in suffering. An inmate in South America said, "I read the Prophet's story in jail. It saved me." That's the power of purpose. No chains can silence it. In Europe, a teacher breaks down in tears after reading the farewell sermon. This man lived some 1,400 years ago and still speaks to me. On YouTube, in universities, in street debates, his name rises. Not everyone agrees, but everyone is curious. Because truth doesn't fear questions. From Jakarta to Johannesburg, his example is not history, it's daily life. People name their sons after him, but they try harder to live like him. Because Muhammad didn't ask to be worshipped, he asked to be followed. In truth, in character, in mercy. That is his real miracle. He wasn't just a messenger for Muslims. He was a reminder for humanity that truth is not inherited, it's lived. And mercy is the highest strength. His life wasn't flawless in comfort, but flawless in conviction. Hunger, loss, betrayal, pain. He faced it all and never changed course. He led armies, but hated bloodshed, ruled cities but slept on straw mats, changed the world, but wept in the night for its people. He asked nothing for himself, no monuments, no crown, just that we remember, that we act with justice and speak with truth. If you want to know him, don't look at the news. Don't judge by headlines. Read his words. Watch his life. You'll find light, not labels. Even if you don't believe in prophets, believe in kindness, in fairness, in speaking up for the voiceless. That's what he lived for. Even now, 1,400 years later, he's still here. In how strangers help one another, in the dignity of the poor, in quiet prayers before dawn. Maybe you heard his name once and forgot. Maybe this is the first time you really listened. Either way, you were meant to hear it now. He left this world with no possessions, but left behind a light that refuses to go out. That light is not a religion. It's a reminder that every soul matters, that character outweighs power, that one person with faith and mercy can change everything. You don't have to be Muslim to understand him. You just have to be human, because his story isn't only about religion. It's about compassion, integrity, and unwavering purpose. He left behind no fortune, no palaces, no monuments, and yet, 400 years later, people still whisper his name in prayer, in tears, and in quiet acts of kindness. He lived simply, loved deeply, and fought not with swords, but with his heart. He reminded us, if you want to change the world, begin with yourself. If you've ever felt lost, if you've ever searched for a path, look to his life, not to worship him, but to learn how to live better, because in the end, Muhammad is not just a story from the past. He is a timeless reminder that kindness, faith, and truth still belong in this world.